Have you ever noticed how some things that once felt simple, easy, even joyful, begin to feel different as you grow older? You're still you, but your body, your rhythm, your sense of connection, it all shifts quietly, like the seasons changing. For many men over 60, there comes a moment when you realize that the things you once did, without a second thought, now feel rushed, mechanical, or strangely distant. And that realization, especially when it comes to intimacy with yourself, can be confusing or even a little unsettling. But here's the truth. You are not broken. You are not past your prime. You're simply entering a new chapter, one that invites more presence, more care, and more self-respect. This video isn't about shame. It's not about performance. It's about reclaiming your relationship with your own body through understanding, awareness, and gentle curiosity. We're going to explore 10 things most older men never learned or were never told about self-pleasure after 60. These aren't just tips. They're keys to restoring comfort, confidence, and connection in a way that aligns with who you are now. If you're open to it, this can be the start of something powerful, because pleasure doesn't disappear with age. It just changes, and learning to meet it where it lives now, in this wiser, slower, more grounded version of yourself, can change everything. Let's begin. Let me take you back to a conversation I had not long ago with a man named Walter, 72 years old, widowed, and quietly navigating the world of aging and intimacy. He looked at me and said, "I still have urges, but I've been trying not to act on them. I heard somewhere that it's better to hold it in. Preserve energy, stay sharp." I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. He wasn't ashamed, just unsure. And the truth is, Walter isn't alone. Many older men, maybe even you, have heard or believed in the idea that holding back ejaculation can somehow increase your energy, boost your testosterone, or even make you more spiritually powerful. It's called semen retention, and it's an idea that's been passed around in books, online forums, and whispered advice for generations. But here's what the science and the lived experience of many men actually says. Yes, brief periods of abstinence can sometimes cause temporary hormonal fluctuations, but long-term suppression that can lead to pelvic congestion, mood swings, irritability, and even an increased risk of prostate discomfort. Your body wasn't designed to be a locked container. It was designed to flow, to release tension, to stay in balance. And at this stage in life, balance is everything. Let me tell you what happened to Walter. After our conversation, he decided to let go of that belief. He gave himself permission to reconnect with his body, not with guilt, but with gentle curiosity. Weeks later, he told me he was sleeping better, smiling more, and feeling like himself again. That's the quiet power of letting go of old myths. Because strength isn't about control for control's sake. It's about knowing your body, trusting its signals, and choosing care over fear. So if you've been holding back out of habit, or something you read online, or something a friend told you years ago, maybe it's time to ask, what if honoring my body means listening to it, not silencing it? That shift in thinking, from discipline to self-respect, is the first step in reclaiming a healthier, more connected relationship with yourself. And here's your small takeaway for today. Pleasure after 60 isn't about indulgence. It's about maintenance, just like stretching or deep breathing. It keeps you grounded, balanced, alive. In the next part, we'll explore another silent mistake, one that almost every man falls into without realizing. It's about routine, repetition, and how using the same grip and the same rhythm every time might be silently reducing your sensitivity. Stick around. Part 2 is where things really begin to shift. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you changed how you touch yourself? Not just the time of day or where you were, but the actual way you did it. The rhythm, the pressure, the motion, the feeling. For many men, the answer is simple. I don't remember. Because like brushing your teeth or folding your socks, it became a habit. Familiar, automatic, and strangely invisible. But here's the thing no one tells us, especially as we age. What's familiar isn't always what your body needs now. Over time, the nervous system adapts. If you give it the same kind of stimulation over and over again, it begins to respond only to that pattern. You might still get some pleasure, but something feels missing. The spark, the depth, the sensitivity, it fades. You might notice it when you're alone, or worse, when you're with someone else, and your body just won't respond the way it used to. This isn't about age. It's about repetition. Let me share a story. A man named Harold, 66, told me he began feeling numb, physically and emotionally, during self-pleasure. He said it used to be easy, natural, but now it felt like he was just going through the motions. No spark, no connection. I asked him to try something simple. Switch hands, change pressure, slow down, add something new, even something small. 2 weeks later, Harold said, "I can't believe how much of a difference that made. It's like I woke up parts of myself I didn't even know had gone quiet." That's what this is about. It's not about novelty for the sake of novelty. It's about reminding your nervous system and your mind that you're still capable of deep sensation, of pleasure that isn't just physical, but emotional too. Just like muscles need different movements to stay strong, your body needs different sensations to stay awake. So here's your gentle takeaway today. If you've been doing things the same way for 10, 20, or even 40 years, it's not a failure to try something different. It's wisdom, it's care, it's curiosity. You don't need to abandon what works. You just need to give yourself permission to expand it. In the next part, we'll talk about something most men never even realize they're doing, rushing through the experience, and how slowing down could be the key to unlocking more connection, more feeling, and more fulfillment than you've had in years. Don't miss it. Let me take you back for a moment. Maybe it was your teenage years, or your 20s, a time when privacy was scarce, when you had to be quick, quiet, hidden. You learned to finish fast because time, space, and sometimes shame didn't allow anything else. And so, like many men, you carried that habit with you into your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and now into your 60s and beyond. But here's the quiet truth. That old urgency might be the very thing holding you back today. When you rush through the experience, you miss it. You miss the warmth, the build-up, the presence. It becomes mechanical, just another task, just another release, a moment you check off rather than connect with. Your body knows the difference. So does your heart. I once spoke with a man named James. He was 70, retired, and living alone after his wife passed. He told me that self-pleasure had become automatic. "It doesn't feel like anything anymore," he said. "I'm doing it, but I'm not really there." So I asked him to try something different. Don't aim for release. Aim for presence. Breathe deeply. Close your eyes. Move slower than you think you should. Pay attention to every shift in sensation. Let it unfold, not just happen. A week later, he emailed me. I thought slowing down would be awkward, but instead I felt calm. Like I was finally there, with myself, not just performing something I learned decades ago. Slowing down gives your body a chance to respond more fully. It gives your mind time to settle. It makes room for emotion, not just sensation. And the pleasure? It deepens, grows, grounds you. Because here's something no one tells you when you're young. Pleasure isn't just about climax. It's about rhythm, about breathing, about being fully in your body, not racing past it. So today's quiet invitation is this. Try slowing down. Take one night, one moment, and remove the goal. Let the journey be the point, not the finish line. And when you do that, you may begin to notice something beautiful, a sense of connection not just with your body, but with the man you are now. In the next part, we'll explore a habit almost every man overlooks, focusing only on one part of the body and ignoring the rest. But what if your body still holds treasures you've never even explored? Let's talk about that next. Think back to how most men were taught to experience pleasure. If it wasn't rushed, it was narrowly focused. One area, one goal, one way. And over time, that narrow focus became a habit. For many men, it still is. The body becomes divided, one part that receives attention, and the rest forgotten. But the truth is, your body has never stopped speaking. You just may have stopped listening. I remember a quiet conversation with a gentleman named Charles, age 69, a retired postal worker, always polite, always composed. One evening he admitted, "I've never touched anywhere else. Just the usual. I didn't think there was a point. So I gently encouraged him. Try something small. Place your hand over your heart before you begin. Trace the curve of your chest, your belly. Feel the warmth of your own skin. Not to rush, not to arouse, just to reconnect. The next time we spoke, he said something simple and beautiful. I didn't realize how much of me I'd been ignoring. You see, even after 60, 70, or 80, your body still holds pathways to pleasure, to presence, to peace. The inner thighs, the lower back, the neck, the fingertips, the perineum, an area many men have never explored but carries powerful sensation. And it's not just physical. Touching different areas awakens a sense of wholeness, of aliveness, of being fully present, not just from the waist down, but from the inside out. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the body you've lived in all along and discovering it's more alive, more sensitive, and more beautiful than you've given it credit for. So here's your gentle invitation. The next time you're alone, explore beyond what's familiar, not with expectation, with curiosity, not with pressure, with kindness. Touch yourself the way you touch someone you love, because that's exactly what this is, a quiet act of self-love. And here's something else to keep in mind. Even when you open yourself up to new sensations, the way you approach that touch matters. There's one small choice that can make a big difference between discomfort and deep comfort, and it's something many men overlook entirely. Let's talk about that next. There's a moment in every man's life when he realizes his body feels a little different than it used to. The skin gets drier, the hands a little stiffer. The sensations change, not because you've lost something, but because time is simply doing what it does. Yet despite all those changes, many men continue to approach their most private moments the exact same way they did in their 30s or 40s. No adjustments, no support, and often no lubrication. You might think, I've never needed it before, or that's not for me. But here's the truth. As you age, the body naturally produces less moisture. What once felt smooth and effortless can now create friction, discomfort, even micro tears that reduce sensitivity over time. I remember speaking with Dennis, 73, a quiet, practical man who prided himself on needing very little. I thought using lube meant something was wrong with me, he admitted. But after I tried it, I realized I had forgotten what comfort really felt like. And that word, comfort, it matters more now than ever. Using lubrication isn't a weakness. It's wisdom. It's care. It's choosing ease over strain. Just like you'd wear supportive shoes for your knees or glasses for your eyes, a quality lubricant simply supports the body you live in today. It softens your touch, extends the experience, brings back a fluidity and ease that many men don't realize they've been missing until they feel it again. There are options, too. Water-based for light, clean sensation. Silicone-based for lasting glide. Unscented for sensitive skin. You don't need anything fancy. You just need what works for you. And for men who experience joint stiffness or reduced dexterity, lubrication isn't just a comfort enhancer. It's a doorway back to confidence. So here's your gentle takeaway today. If something can make your experience more comfortable, more connected, and more enjoyable, it's not an extra. It's part of honoring where you are now. Because you deserve ease. You deserve warmth. You deserve to feel good in your body without pushing through pain or pretending you don't need support. Now, even with the right tools, and even when we're doing everything physically right, there's still something deeper that can hold us back. It doesn't live in the skin. It lives in the mind. And unless we name it, it quietly follows us into every moment of intimacy. It's time we talk about it. Shame, guilt, and the emotional weight we carry. We'll explore that next. Let's pause here and go a little deeper. Because even if your technique is gentle, even if you've tried something new or finally allowed yourself more comfort, there's something else that can still linger. Quietly, invisibly, and it often begins long before your hair turned gray or your hands began to slow. I'm talking about shame, and its quieter cousin, guilt. For many men, especially those who grew up in a time when these topics were whispered or hidden altogether, self-pleasure was never something to be embraced. It was something to hide, something to rush, something to feel conflicted about afterward. Even decades later, after marriage, after raising children, after a lifetime of learning, that quiet programming can still live in the background. You may logically understand it's healthy, normal, but emotionally, you might still feel a flicker of discomfort, a need to finish fast, a voice in your head that says, "This is wrong." I remember a moment shared with Leonard, 71, a former pastor who had lived a life of service and devotion. He told me, "It's strange. I teach people about grace and forgiveness, but when I'm alone, I still feel like I'm doing something I need to apologize for." And I asked him something that I'll now ask you. Who gave you that belief? And is it still serving you now? Because here's the truth. Self-pleasure, when done mindfully and respectfully, isn't just a physical act. It's emotional grounding. It's stress relief. It's a form of self-respect, not self-indulgence. Studies have shown that older adults who maintain a healthy relationship with their sexuality, including solo intimacy, experience better sleep, reduced anxiety, and even improved cognitive function. But none of that matters if your heart still feels conflicted, if each moment of closeness with yourself is followed by a shadow. So here's today's gentle invitation. Notice the voice inside you. And if it's echoing something old, something unkind, ask yourself, do I still want to carry that belief? Or is it time to lay it down? Because pleasure, connection, and emotional freedom are not rewards to be earned. They're parts of your humanity, ones you've always had permission to feel. And when you reclaim that, everything else starts to feel lighter. Now that we've begun to clear the emotional space, let's turn to something that can support your experience even more. Tools and enhancements made specifically for men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. Because yes, there are ways to make things easier, gentler, and more satisfying. And they're not about weakness. They're about wisdom. We'll explore those next. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you let yourself accept help? Not because you couldn't do something, but because it made life just a little easier. A better grip on a jar, a chair with back support, a pair of shoes that cushion your knees. These are things we don't question. We embrace them because they're made for who we are now. And yet, when it comes to intimacy, especially with ourselves, many men resist the idea that they might benefit from something similar. Tools, enhancements, aids, words that to some may feel like weakness, but to others, they're simply a reflection of wisdom. The truth is, your body changes. Grip strength, joint mobility, sensitivity, stamina. And when we don't adapt with those changes, we risk frustration and even quiet shame. I remember speaking with Alan, 67, a retired woodworker. His hands, once his pride, had begun to ache from years of carving and building. He told me, "I thought I just had to give up on that part of myself until I found something that worked for these hands now." He had started using a soft, ergonomically designed sleeve made specifically for older men, and he said, with a half smile, "It was like giving my body a second chance." There are tools out there, gentle, well-made, quiet companions in rediscovery. Some are sleeves with softer texture. Some are shaped to reduce strain on your wrists or fingers. Some are designed to stimulate areas you may have never thought to explore. And no, these tools don't replace your touch. They simply enhance it. They're not cheating. They're adapting. Just like eyeglasses don't make your eyes weaker, they help you see more clearly. So here's today's quiet invitation. Let go of the pride that says, "I shouldn't need this." And embrace the possibility that support might just bring more freedom, not less. You are not less of a man because you adjust. You're more of one because you choose to care for yourself with intention. Now, even with the right tools and techniques, there's one more layer many men overlook. A hidden factor that can affect your pleasure, confidence, and even your desire, without you even realizing it. And it's not something you can touch or buy. It may be sitting quietly in your medicine cabinet. Let's talk about that next. Sometimes, the changes we notice in our bodies seem to have no clear reason. The desire is quieter, the sensitivity duller, the response slower, and you might find yourself thinking, maybe it's just age. But here's a question many men forget to ask. What if it's not aging, but your medication? Because the truth is, as we get older, the number of pills on the bathroom shelf tends to grow. Blood pressure, cholesterol, mood, sleep, pain, all necessary, all prescribed with care. But many of these medications, especially in combination, can silently affect your sexual function in ways that go unnoticed until one day you realize things don't feel the same. I once spoke with Ron, 70, a quiet, thoughtful man who had been taking medication for high blood pressure and mild depression for several years. He told me, "I just assumed I was slowing down because I was getting older, but no one ever told me it could be the meds." When he finally brought it up to his doctor, nervously, almost apologetically, he discovered something surprising. There were alternative options, different dosages, or even supplements that could help counter the effects. All he needed was to ask. And that's the hardest part, isn't it? Not the physical change, but the conversation, the vulnerability of saying, "This part of me matters. I want to understand it." Here's what every man over 60 deserves to know. You are not too old to care about intimacy. You are not overreacting if things feel different. And you are absolutely not alone. So today's quiet reminder is this. If you felt disconnected, dulled, or less yourself, don't immediately blame your age. Take a look at what's in your medicine cabinet. And more importantly, bring it into the light of conversation. Because the right doctor won't judge you. They'll support you. And you have every right to advocate for a full, vibrant life, in every sense of the word. Now, while we've touched on what can interfere with your connection, what about what can support it? In the next part, we'll shift towards something more nourishing. The role of food, rest, and gentle movement in restoring your natural energy and desire. You may be surprised at how much power your daily routine still holds. Let's explore that together next. There's a quiet truth that many men discover, sometimes later than they'd like. Intimacy, desire, pleasure. They don't just live in one part of the body. They're built slowly, gently, through the small things you do every day. What you eat, how well you sleep, whether or not you move your body. These things might not seem connected to your most private moments, but they are, more than most people realize. I remember meeting Everett, 74, a widower who told me, I didn't feel like myself anymore. Not just sexually, but in general, low energy, heavy, foggy. He'd stopped walking regularly, ate whatever was easy, slept poorly, and the loss of desire, he thought it was just age. But it wasn't. With a little encouragement, he began making gentle changes. A walk around the block every morning, swapping out heavy, fried meals for something fresh and colorful, turning off the television an hour earlier to wind down before bed. Within weeks, he told me, it's like someone turned the lights back on inside me. Because that's the truth. The body and mind are deeply connected. And when you begin to nourish them, not just for survival, but for vitality, everything changes. Certain foods, like leafy greens, walnuts, berries, beets, and yes, even dark chocolate, support blood flow and hormone balance. A 20-minute walk each day can improve circulation, boost mood, and awaken your senses. And quality sleep doesn't just rest your body. It resets your hormones and renews your energy for connection, physical or emotional. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about clearing the dust, softening the edges, and remembering what it feels like to be alive. So if your desire has felt distant, if your energy is quiet, before you assume something is broken, look gently at your daily rhythm. You might not need to fix anything. You might just need to feed it. Which brings us to something beautiful. Because when you put all of this together, the mindset, the technique, the nourishment, something unexpected happens. Self-pleasure becomes more than a moment. It becomes a ritual. One rooted in presence, care, and deep respect for the man you are today. In our final part, let's explore how to create something sacred, not out of shame or habit, but out of reverence. Let's talk about the new kind of connection waiting for you when no one's watching. There's something beautiful that happens when we stop rushing, stop proving, stop performing, and start being. After all the changes, all the unlearning, all the quiet realizations, there comes a moment when you realize that self-pleasure doesn't have to look anything like it used to. It can become something entirely new. something softer, something sacred, not a task, not a secret, but a ritual. A ritual is something you return to, not for results, but for connection, for grounding, for peace. What if your time alone wasn't about tension and release, but about presence? What if it became the way you end your week, not as an escape, but as a way to honor your body, to say, I am still here, I still feel, I still matter. You can set the space with intention, dim the lights, put on music that soothes or stirs you, breathe deeply, slow everything down, touch yourself not with urgency, but with kindness, with curiosity, as if you're meeting yourself again, not as the man you were, but as the man you are now. Because that man, you, carries a lifetime of memory, wisdom, resilience, and still desire. And when you allow that desire to be expressed without guilt, without rules, without the pressure to perform, it becomes healing. It becomes intimacy, not just stimulation. And from that place, you can walk into each day, not feeling diminished by age, but expanded by it. So here's the quiet truth to hold on to. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not alone. You are still capable of connection, with others, yes, but first and foremost, with yourself. That connection, that tenderness, that inner spark, it begins with how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. This isn't just about pleasure. It's about respect. It's about coming home to yourself. And if you take just one thing from this journey, let it be this. You don't need permission to feel whole. You already are. Thank you for sharing this space, this conversation, and this rediscovery with me. And if this spoke to you, even in a small way, I invite you to leave a comment below. Let us know which part resonated, or simply say, I'm here. Because sometimes, just knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. And until next time, take care of yourself. With grace, with presence, with heart.